It is Friday, and BCA-101, Introduction to Computers. We're talking about multitasking, shaming, open internet, how those are related. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Binary digits, computing devices. Can we distinguish between them? And we got our first really good start on spreadsheets. So we talked about what we should be doing, working on the outline sections 331 to 332. Assignment 1 spreadsheets. We took a look at it today in class. Started. So talked about the course, syllabus, checking due dates. We are finishing up week 5, day 14 for Introduction to Computers. Now I'm going to mention these again here in a little bit, so let's alright, so multitasking, that was our word processing document. We talked about that, how you have to be careful. We cannot multitask, even though you think you can work on multiple things at the same time, you really can't. And there are tons of studies that talk about multitasking. Okay? The dangerous part, I think, there's some studies say if you're doing a task that requires focus, let's say you're doing some difficult math problems or physics problems, or you're trying to solve some key thing, or you're writing a report that requires your thought process, and if you start multitasking, where you're switching between this hard task and some like checking your email, or probably not email, checking Twitter or Facebook or whatever, what happens is the brain, if this is really where you've been focusing, your brain can actually damage your ability to focus in your brain when you're constantly pulling yourself away. I don't know if they can prove that or not. Alright, so, not sure what I was talking about here. We talked a little bit about, I think that goes way back to the shaming. When you post something everywhere, I try to rebuild it, reputation.com, you know, they paid for it, money. The context, some students mentioned, you know, what she thought when she did, we're talking about the shaming and Lindsay Stone, you know, what she thought was funny, other people take a different context, and it's really important. So we talked about multitasking, and we also talked about open internet. The fact that there is no regulation on what happens. Alright. So, I think we already explained most of the other stuff that we're doing. Let's move on. Digital footprint. We talked about bits. And everything you do, or a lot of things you do via your phone or computer, laptop, whatever, if you are interacting with the internet, there's a way to leave a digital footprint, and we'll talk more about that later on. So, bits, here's some bits. Those bits, based on the ASCII code, is a capital A. So it's crazy, you hold the shift key and you press a capital A. Most PCs, that's what's stored. That's capital A. So if you're gonna store that on a disk somewhere, there's a bit off, a bit on, off, 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 on. It is kind of like that. Okay. We talked about word processor size, 64-bit, 32-bit. Most systems are 64-bit, and that literally means It's manipulating these ones and zeros, 64 of them at a time. We'll talk a little more about that. Why that's important. If you're going to download software, okay, most machines are 64-bit now, but if you're download software, it's going to ask you 64, 32 in a lot of cases. If your machine can use 64, then that's what you want to download, because that will be better, more efficient, run better than 32. Alright. Why are these numbers like that? 64, 32, before that was 16. Okay, let me undo that. Before that was 16, before that was 8. Literally before that was 4. Those are all powers of 2. Right? 2 to the second, 2 to the third, 2 to the fourth, 2 to the fifth, 2 to the sixth. And why 2? Because we work in binary. Got it? Yeah, maybe, maybe not. But anyway, more to come. Spreadsheets. Key things in spreadsheets. When you look at a spreadsheet, you have rows and columns, and any one spot in there is referred to as a cell. And cells are referenced by row number and column. Okay, so we have A1, that spot. What can be in a cell is a value or a label. Labels are typically left justified, values are right justified, and the values could be something you typed in, like let's say we typed in 14, and the label could be some word like somebody's age, and here's somebody else's age, and they're 13. Okay? Then you can put a formula in there. If you go and start a cell with an equal sign, you could put a formula in here where, let's say this is B, this is 2 and 3, you can go equals B2 plus B3. And if you put that formula right here, it will also look like a value. Get it? 27. They all look the same, but yet one's a formula and others are just values typed in. Absolute and relative addressing. If you put dollar signs with a cell reference, like let's say this was C5, just as an example, that's absolute. If you don't, let's say we have D5, and we don't put any dollar signs, that's relative. If we copy this formula, it stays C5. If we copy this formula down, then it becomes D6 and so forth. If we copy it to the right, the D becomes an E, E5. Let me use a different color here. Copy it that way, copy it that way. That's relative addressing. Lots of really practical reasons you need to understand those too. Alright, almost done. What do we need to do? Unit 3, make sure you've gone through the objectives. Focus on learning, drive. We're going to talk about that on Friday. Of next week. Okay. Learning materials. Should have gone through that. The open internet, that's a place where we talked a little bit about, there's a variety of topics. And so what we want to do is we want to run that all the way through the end of the course. And we want students to go in and review a topic, and then comment on it. And we'll keep that running during the term. Okay. Spreadsheet work 1, groups. We started those. Assignment, you should get that started. Because of the snow day on Monday, we move that back. We move that back until Friday, I believe. Check Canvas for sure. This we'll do next week, and this we'll complete next week, closer to Wednesday rather than Monday, because we're a little behind. That's it.